Hello, Ijao Martins, licensed marriage and family therapist, couples therapist. I want to continue with our last week's conversation on the fixer part. And thank you. One of the viewers left some comments and for me to think about. Why is it so hard to get out of the fixer part? And to be neutral and to be compassionate and stay with your partner with ADHD, their pain and their struggles, and being supportive. So we can look at this issue from different perspectives and different frameworks. And today I wanted to look at it from a framework of boundary. There are many different kind of boundaries, as you know, and depends on how you want to define it. I would like to categorize it today as a four different type of boundaries. So I will talk about time boundary, physical boundary, emotional boundary, and energetic boundary. I think time boundary is the most straightforward boundary, right? As we can think about. Most of you probably already know this. The partner with ADHD have a different sense of time from the people who are on the spectrum with less ADHD symptoms. So when the ADHD symptoms impact your sense of time, you always think there's more time than you actually have. And you're very optimistic about that, very hopeful. And then also you can lose track of time when you're in the hyper-focused mode, which can be very pleasant for the person who's hyper-focusing or being hyper-focused on, depends on the context. But that creates some challenge as for what's the next task. So if you're getting out of bed in the morning and you're enjoying being in bed with your partner, and then you're missing out on your work deadline that you need to get to work, or if you're hyper focused on an activity, saying doing laundry probably is not the one, a more pleasant one, like playing video games or even working. You got into your hyper focused mode, and then you lose sense of track of time, and then you miss your appointment, or you're late for your date, or you're late for a concert or movie reservation, whatever that is. So you can see that that creates some consequences, some chaos sometimes in people's life. Either your own life, the partner with ADHD, or people around you, their life can be dragged down, become chaotic. That's why time boundary is actually quite important in creating constancy and safety. So I was practicing time boundary with one of my therapist friends earlier. We got on the phone and we have this tendency of running over time. We have such a good time talking and catching up. And then next thing we know, we've been talking for an hour and a half, and we have client appointments after where we miss lunch or dinner. Anyways, we got hyper focused on our conversation, and we didn't respect time boundary. So before we had a conversation, I asked her, I said, how much time do you have, my friend? And I told her how much time I have and when would I like to get out of the phone call. And she told me when she would like to get out phone call. So we agreed. We're gonna set a timer and we're gonna keep track of the time. We'll stop at 12:15 as she has an appointment to go to and I have the lunch to go to. So it worked great. We went a minute or two over, but we were able to box our conversation for another time. We set another 30 minutes on the phone tomorrow to catch up and to finish with our conversation, and also allowing more things to emerge from our conversation to share with each other and bond. So that was a success. So you can see, even for therapists, we struggle with time boundary. So don't be so disheartened that it's not your strong suit or your partner's strong suit, that you're frustrated that you two have a different sense of time, or you have a hard time to set aside time, say, to discuss and to bond, or to end things on time. It has been a struggle for many people, and it's good to be aware when, in what context it's easy for you, say, to be more relaxed around time. Say if you're on vacation, right, and there's nothing to be rushed, and you want to give unstructured time. You actually want to set aside time for unstructured activities. I know I do that. I will set aside 2 hours on the weekend to go to nature and do my watercolor. And I tell myself this is my unstructured time. I'm going to wander about in the garden until I get inspired by something in nature. And then I draw and I take my time. Then it feels right and I go home. But it sometimes is nice to have a time boundary around that too, so you won't miss your next thing. So that's time boundary. The next one, physical boundary, sounds very straightforward, and I won't get into it, even though there are a lot of nuances. For example, well, how close is close? Even with the consent, if you're familiar with the sex therapy concept, wheel of consent, how and when and how often and what is okay in the touch is a big issue, should be talked about among partners, right? So some partner with ADHD may be having some sensory integration differences from their partner. And some people on the spectrum also may have that difference with their other partner. So it's always good to talk, like, is this touch okay for you, or you prefer this? And how soft and how firm is one thing, and where in the location for the touch, and in the context, is this a good time to touch? Sometimes when your partner is already overstimulated, an extra layer of stimulation may not be pleasant, and they may have a hard time telling you. So it's good to have that discussion from time to time to check in, to really respect their boundary. When their boundaries are being respected physically, that also creates safety and sense of relaxation, and that can increase your bonding and connection in that moment. So that's physical boundary. The next two things I want to focus on is to compare and differentiate between emotional boundary and energetic boundary. So at first, when you look at it, it's hard to tell them apart. Like, what's the difference? Energy, I can't even see energy. I can read energy. Only a small group of people that we know that can see auras and can read energy. It sounds a little bit woo-woo for other population, right? It's okay. Let me put in the way I understand it. So if you think about emotions, is emotion is basically energetic, a form of energy, with a thought, with some content attached, that you start to have some feelings and energy start to move, and sadness go down, very heavy, anxiety and excitement goes up. It's very up regulating, stimulating, right? And then there's more complications of different kind of energy, of course, the secondary energy, emotions. But when I think about interpersonal relationship in a dynamic, particularly affected by ADHD, the ADHD partner may have a hard time regulate emotions. So they may have a trigger, and then they get a strong emotions, feelings, they want to release that. And so they will express that in a way that might be too much to handle for the other partner. And the non-ADHD partner, especially if they are on the spectrum where they have some sensory integration challenges, loud noise, fast speech, or sometimes words of choice can really activate their nervous system in a way it's very hard for them. They get overstimulated, get off their window of tolerance, and they cannot hear anymore. They start to shut down and then withdraw, run away, or they fight back as to establish boundary. And then the partner who initially have that emotional expression may feel triggered as well, that they're not connecting with me, they're abandoning me, I'm alone in this. And then you go back and forth, the pursuer, pursue, withdrawer, right? You're familiar with that? So that's telling me the emotional contagion between the people that really have a hard time to stay centered and grounded and say, you're having your feelings, you're frustrated, either you're frustrated with me or something else, which is still your emotion, that something got activated in you, that you want to express your emotion, your energy, and has nothing to do with me. Even though you might be frustrated with me, even though there might be a part of me that is triggering you, I'm still not the cause of your misery. You have a choice in how you express and experience your emotions, right? It's very hard to do. It's so easy to say, I know. When I'm around my children, especially my child with ADHD, when they're really frustrated and they're like this, and they're screaming and crying, and big emotion, big movement, and so sudden too. Sometimes I get a little bit overstimulated. I'm like, oof. Right, let's take some deep breath. What's this going on? Like, it's very sudden. I'm not preparing for this, especially when I'm already tapped, right, in doing things. It's hard. So we all can take some deep breath. Just down-regulate a little bit. And I remind myself to separate myself from their emotions. That is okay. That they're feeling frustrated and big emotions right now. That means they're human. There's something that's activating them. Let's be curious and find out and help them to express them in a way that I can hold. Sometimes I may tell them that this is too much for mommy. I need a moment. Well, why don't you take a moment too? Would you like to go downstairs and run around, really get it out, and then tell me what's happening? Right? So that works for a child and parent relationship, but when it comes to partner relationship, you don't want to tell your partner, you go to that corner and regulate yourself. I can see that show up as very parental and condescending, right? Like I probably won't like I definitely would like that. I would not like that. So you can ask your partner, with or without ADHD, if they will like that, or what kind of reminder they want you to deliver lovingly when they're having big emotions and you're having a hard time tolerating. Regulate yourself. Can you remove yourself? Can you tell them that you'll be back? Can you tell them gently by offering some tea or something, say, you know what, you can have all the emotions and you want to have. I'm having a hard time right now. I would really like us to just bring it down a little bit. I want to hear you when we're calmer. So let's make us some tea, or can we take a walk? Something along the line that negotiate. So the difference between emotional boundary and the energetic one, for me, is the energetic boundary is more subtle. Sometimes you don't feel strong emotions, but you're already overstepping the energetic boundary. For example, you know, if your partner, like the example I'm thinking about from the comments, is struggling with some task, the ADHD partner is struggling with some task, organization, prioritization, procrastination, you name it, whatever the struggle is, and you're sitting here, really start to get impatient because you see what they're doing, and based on your past experience, you know this is not going well, and you have a negative prediction of the future that something negative is going to come out of it, say they didn't get it, or late, or whatever, and it impact you. See, that's the trick. If it doesn't impact you, I think most people will be okay with it. But if you are married, where you live together, where you have a future tied together, it's really impacting your interest. So you start to worry for you, but you show up energetically, being in their space to tell them what to do or try to manipulate them in a way that will work better for you without telling them what is really your interest here. For example, if say your partner is scattered in applying for a job and they're not following through with job interviews and onboarding, and it seems like they're about to lose this job, which impact their financial contribution to the household. Say, if you have all the money you want in the world, it's not a problem, right? But what if you really, say you live in the Bay Area, like I do, and you rely on two people's income to make it work for your household, especially if you have children, that will matter a lot if your partner gets this job or not. And when their procrastination or disorganization cause the loss of the job or potential of losing the job, that you start to worry, that you start to have the negative prediction on, then you may jump in, getting into their space, energetic space, and either do something for them, or you nudge them to do something. You become their coach, you become their therapist, you become their caregiver, you become their fixer, you become their AI. And you are really putting your energy out there towards their goal. Next thing you know, your energy is not in your field anymore. and you're losing your precious energy, which can be redirected towards your goal, whatever that you are supposed to be doing, or even just to conserve your energy to nurture your own being, like watercolors, like make some yummy food, like dance, like play with the kids. You could use that energy for anything, or not use it for some other later time, right? And you're losing energy. Your energy is in their field. It's in towards their goal, which is not consciously discussed between the two of you, which probably will be rejected if you tell them that I'm doing this for you. I want you to be this and that. That's why I'm doing this. Very likely you will get a pushback from their parts and saying, leave me alone. Don't be my mommy or daddy. You can't make me, right? The teenager rebellious pushback part. So you get what I'm saying, right? So energetically crossing the boundary, but you're emotionally, you're not. You didn't take on their emotion. Maybe you did. If you took on their anxiety and depression, yeah, that's possible. But a lot of time, this is more like energetically where you put your energy. We all have limited energy, right? Whatever you eat, you sleep, you meditate, how you get your source of energy, and it come out towards some goal or task, daily task, and you can spend it on something else, and at the end of the day you run out. If you spend on your partner on their goals, then you don't have much left for you, and that's why our over-functioning partner exhausted all the time. Does it sound familiar? All right, well, I hope this is fun and inspiring and ring a bell for you. Ding ding. I will see you next week, my friends.